Welcome, this is Kilo Echo Zero, Bravo Sierra Juliet, and my name is Charles, and today we are going to be going over the report builder in the November 7 X-Ray Golf Logger program that we use for the Century Club Net, 3905 Century Club Net. And today we are going to be I'm going to be giving you an introduction to the Report Explorer and to the various toolbars that's in the Explorer. And we're going to learn the different sections of a report and how to create just a basic report today. And then another video will go into more advanced features and more advanced reports. So let's get this started. Okay, you should have the Logger program opened, and we want to go to Reports on the menu, and then we're going to go to Report Explorer. Now this is a Report Explorer window, top menu, and then you got your menu items down here, which are pretty much same menu items that you have up there. So which one you would rather use, you can use. I'm not particular. I like to use these down here because I know what they are. And over here is your all folders section. This is actually where all your reports are kept in folders, different folders. The main ones we're going to be working with is we'll use the standard reports folder, and you'll notice that on this section here, the contents of standard reports, I already have several ones built in. I've got an address label for an Avery 5261, 5961s, and 8161s. That address label will work with any one of those series. And then I have a regular address logbook for directs, officers worked report, and as well as estates received. These are reports that I have created myself, and that is what we will be showing you how to do today. Over here in this section, you got an awards applications. These were already built in reports that was already built into the program itself that Dean provided. And then level 2 is something I created here to show you the different menu items up here. So if you're in level 3 here, this icon takes you back one level, and it'll take you all the way to the back. This icon right here will create a new folder. So if we wanted to create a new folder under level 3, we would click that icon, type in a name. And this right here, this icon here, actually creates a new report. But we're not going to do that right now, and it would create it under this level here. So then if we create a new one, we save it, it will show up under test level 4, so it's under that directory there. Then if we back up one, and so on and so forth. Now we are going to delete these here, so this icon here is the delete button. Just click on delete, and it'll verify your delete, and the same thing. So now those are not there. Alright, so what we want to do now is click here, I work strictly under the under the QSL cards. This is some built-in QSL cards that Dean has thrown in as samples and stuff that you can actually play with and change for your needs if you want to. This one right here is mine that I use. I've created several different, well, looks like 3 different ones. And I created one for Veterans Day, I created one for Thanksgiving, and different ones for different holidays and stuff. That's the good thing about creating your own QSL cards, is you can create it on the fly instead of having to use all your existing cards or order new cards and stuff like that. I can change it on the fly. And we will pull this one up. This is my normal QSL card that I have been using in the past. And this is where you do all your editing and stuff like that. And this one is my new one that I've been sending out lately since I think the first part of this week I started using this one, I think. I actually added a mobile rig, so I added a mobile station, and then I can check that if I'm on the mobile station, or if I'm on my fixed station I'll check that, or portable, then I can check that one. Alright, let's get down to the learning. Okay, what we want to do is click on standard reports, and we're going to create a new one. Alright, now this is the actual report builder. You've got menu items up here, and they also correspond to a lot of these buttons down here. You got 3 tabs across the top here. The first one we're going to be dealing with is the data. In order to have a report, you need to pull data in from your contacts or from the Loggers database. And mostly what we're going to be dealing with will be a table in the database that is called contacts. So in order to get contacts into the report, we have to go up here to File and create a new one. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You have a query wizard or a query designer. You can use either one of them. The query wizard kind of walks you through it step by step, and the query designer just takes you right straight to it. So either one is fine to use. I guess I probably use the query wizard the most, so we'll go ahead and start it. You can either double click on it, or you can click on it and then OK. I just double clicked on it. Now here are all the tables that is in the database. For the most part, for any report you're going to be doing, you're definitely going to want the contacts table. That is where all your contacts are kept whenever you made them and you entered them in during the nets. So you definitely want this one on almost every report you're going to do. You can either double click it and it'll put it over here, or you can use these icons here. Click on it, click this icon, and it moves it to that table. For the basic report, we're just going to mainly deal strictly with the contacts table. So since this is a wizard, we're going to go ahead and walk through it. So click the next button, and you can actually choose what fields you want to put in your report. So if you know exactly what you want, you can click on this and it'll allow you to choose your fields. So for our report, we definitely want the call sign. So you can either double click it and it'll put it over there, or you can single click it and click that button. So I like the double click method myself. I want the date in this report, I want the time, I want the state, and I want the field that says QSL received. In other words, whenever you receive a card and you check your cards in, this field is marked as R for received. So those are the fields that I want. Another way to do this is just to put all the fields in there, and you can do that by just clicking the double arrow, and that'll put all your fields over there. And that's what we're going to do. So then we'll click next. You can add different calculations and stuff, but we're not going to get into that on this section. And grouping, we won't be getting into that one. And we can limit the rows, what we want to be returned. We're not going to get into that until later on in the report. So right now we're just going to go ahead and keep selecting next. And now we're going to click finish. Now that brings the contacts table into the report builder, so now we can pull information from the database and put it in our report. The next tab is the design tab. This is where we get down to actually designing the look of the report. Now before you really dive into this, it's a good idea to take a piece of scratch paper and just design the way you want the report to look on a piece of scratch paper. And I have already done that, and during the video you'll actually get to see what I drew up on scratch paper. That way you're not stumbling through and just flying by the seat of your pants. At least if you design on a piece of paper, you know what you want and you know the way it's going to look, so it makes things a lot easier. Alright, now the different parts of the report. You have a header, and then you have details, and then you have a footer. The header is what is printed at the top of the page, and you'll want like a descriptive header. Like for mine, I'm going to call this report a demo report, and so I want a header at the top that says demo report. The footer, you can either have a footer or not have a footer. It's all up to you. If you have a footer there, it just takes up more space, and have to print out more pages if you got a long report. So normally I don't usually put a header in, but for this tutorial and stuff, we will put a footer in later. The details section, that is actually where all the information is that you want to pull into your report. That's where that goes. So what we're going to do on my report, I do want a header on here, and so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pull a label down and put it in the header. So I clicked on A, which is a label, and I just clicked down here in the header section. Now I'm going to move it over. I'm going to move it over to where I want it. Now I want this header to take up the full width of the screen. And actually I just got ahead of myself. I just now noticed that we're in landscape mode because the ruler goes out to 11. So the first thing you want to do is go up to File. Whenever you're in the Design tab, go up to File and go to Page Setup. This is where you set up the actual paper and how it prints out. So printer, you can pretty much leave that to defaults. The document name, I've never changed that before. You want it to print on both sides. I've never really changed that. Then you want the paper size. We want 8.5 by 11, and then I want this in portrait mode, so it'll print in portrait mode. Paper source. If you got a printer with 2 paper trays and you want to keep blank paper in tray 1, and you want to put your QSL cards in tray 2, you can actually force it to go to tray 1 in this section here. I'm just personally going to leave it on default. I only have 1 paper tray on mine, or if you have a bypass tray or something like that, you can choose bypass tray, and usually a bypass tray allows you to feed one single sheet through your printer at a time, so you can actually force it to always go to that if you want it to. But I'm just going to leave it on default for my report. The layout. Now in my layout, on this one, I'm going to want 2 columns. So I want 1 column, and then once that column is filled out, then it starts printing over into the second column. And by that, I want the column to reversal top to bottom, and you also have the option of left to right. So in other words, if top to bottom your data goes down this way, then once this column fills out, then it starts at the top of the second column and works its way down. Left to right, it'll start on the left hand column, then the next record will go to the right hand, then drop down 1 row, print, and then it'll go left to right instead of up and down. Normal people will read top to bottom and then go to the second column. So that's just a normal flow of how most people read. Sometimes going left to right is very difficult to read, especially if you got your records coming in a specific order. So personally I like top to bottom. And we will, after we get the report built, we'll come back in here and change that so you can see what I'm talking about there, just in case if you don't understand. So I want 2 columns. So the column width, let's go over to margins. Now my printer will leave a 1/4 inch margin all the way around. It's not a edge to edge printer, so mine leaves a 1/4 inch margin all the way around. So in order for me to have it come out right, so where I don't clip part of my picture and part of my data off, I always put that margin in here. And so I type in 0.25, go down to the next one, put in 0.25, 0.25, and then 0.25. Now then, you come over here, I've got two columns already in, and the column width is going to be 4.25, which is right. The first column is going to cost, the numbers here is where that column is actually going to start printing. Now since I already put in that my margins are 0.25, I want the first column to start out at 0, and then the next column will go over 4 inches and then give me a space of 0.25, so it'll start printing at 4.25 inches from the left hand side of the paper. Alright, those are all set up correctly. Now row spacing, if you're using printing labels and stuff like that, most labels don't have any row spacing between the rows. The labels are pretty much touching each other, so you don't want a row spacing. Now if you happen to come up with some labels that has some space between each label, you'll have to measure that out and then you'll enter it here. So 0.25 or whatever it measures out to be, you'll want to put that there. But for the most part, most labels that I've ever seen has no row spacing between the labels. A lot of them has horizontal spacing but no vertical spacing between the rows. So let's go ahead and choose OK. Now we'll verify now that our paper width is 8 inches, which is right, because I have a 1/4 inch margin on both sides, so that's 1/2 inch, so that gives me the 8.5 inch. So our columns are looking pretty good there. So now if we will look, we need to set up, because I know mine will look different than what yours, these icons here will look different. To get yours set up, you will want to go to View, Toolbars, and pretty much just select everything here. Then you'll have everything on the menu items like I got. Report tree, and then data tree as well. The report tree is not really necessary, but if you look here, it'll show you each of the sections just like you got over here. So that's really not necessary, so you can close it if you don't want it up there. Alright, so now we want to get back to creating the report now. So I want a label up here that goes clear across the entire width of the paper. So up here in this section here, you've got the different icons here of different controls that you can use on your report. This section here, let me arrange this so it'll be a little easier to see here. You can move your menus around wherever you want them. So it's this part is actually pretty customizable where you can put things. So I'm just going to move everything around here so I can get to these. I want these separated a little bit so it'll be easier for you guys to see. Sorry guys, I'm at work, so the phone's going to be ringing. These icons here, or controls, if you will, are really just static, they're static controls. So in other words, you can drop these onto the report and you have to actually type something in there. It won't store database information. So these are pretty much what you can call static controls. These right here are your dynamic controls. These are what are actually tied to a database, or you can tie them to a database field. And these are what we'll be using in the details section, pulling in the information from the database. So the header up here is actually going to be a static header. So I want to click on the static label, and then I'll click on it, and then I'll click down here, and that puts a label there. And I'll move it to there. Now to change the text that's in there, you just come up here to this text box here and you type in the text that you want to use. Now, like I said previously, I want this to be the full width of the report. So if you right click on this, on the label itself, it pops up another menu. Now if you want to make it the full size, you want to get rid of this auto size. Auto size allows it to expand whenever you're typing, so it'll be the exact width that you need if you're typing something in there. Now I want to auto size, don't want it auto size because I want to make it the full width of the report. Now there's another way you can do this. You can either drag it like I just did, or you can right click on it, and never mind, that's not with a parent. So you want to drag it to full width here. And then you can actually change your font and your font sizes and characteristics of that font right here. Now I want the actual text centered on this, so I want to center it, and I want it bold. Now I also want to increase the font size, so I want to take it to at least a 20. Yeah, that'll work. 20 will work. Now I also want to change the font. Now the easiest way to do that is, I've got a lot more fonts installed on my computer. So I got a lot of computer programming software and other software that installs fonts. So I'll have a lot more fonts than you guys will have. So instead of sitting here and scrolling down the list and trying to figure out which font you want, you can't really see what they look like. So the easiest way to do that is just to click on it again, click on one of them. Now you can hit the down arrow and it'll scroll through that entire list, and it'll change the font so you can see actually what it looks like. You can go down, use the up and down arrows to scroll up and down on them until you find the one you like. I think I'll leave it on that one. Now I want to move it up, make sure it's all visible inside there, and I made it bold. I've got it centered. Now I want to change the background of the box itself and then the text color. So that is done with these icons here. This is a background and this is a font color. So I want to change the background to, let's go black. And then I want to change the font color to yellow. So there we have the header set up. Now if you come over here and you move the mouse until you get the double arrows, up and down arrows like that, then if you click and hold the mouse button, you can pull the size of your header down. So that will allow you to make your header taller or shorter if you want it. Over here is your ruler, so it'll auto adjust. Each one of these increments are 1/8 of an inch. The same as this ruler across here. Each one of these are 1/8 of an inch. So I want it, well, I'm going to move it back up to the top there. We'll have a little bit of space between, white space between the bottom of my header and then the gray area here. These gray areas will not print on your report. And to show you that, I'm going to quickly add a line here. This is just a standard line, and I want it to go the full width here. So I can actually click on this line, right click, and tell it to be the parent width. That will change it to the full width of the parent. Now we'll take this gray shaded box and slide it up. Okay, now that line is just below the header there. Now take that gray box, slide it up to the very bottom of that. Now I'm going to put another line here, and I want it to be at the very top. And I want it to go the full width too. So we're going to right click and go parent width. Now it made it the same width of as a column. Now I want this line to be a little thicker line. You can change the thickness of the line by coming up here to this icon right here. If you click on that, then you can change whatever point you want. 3-point is a lot thicker. So now you got this much area here, but it's those gray boxes I was telling you about, which will not print. So if we come over here to click on the preview tab, you'll see that gray box does not print there. Alright, let's delete that again and delete that line. And I'm going to slide that gray area all the way up to the bottom of my box. So that will be the size of the header. Now what you want to do, you got different sections here. You got the header, which is this section here. Then you got a column header, and you'll see an arrow. So these are touching each other. So you want to get that arrow cursor like that and then drag down. And I didn't grab the right one. It's kind of tedious to grab the right one, so just keep playing with it. See, now I've got the column header section in there, and we'll need that. And the same here. If you'll see a column footer here, if you do the same thing there, then you'll see the white sections there. That'll make it a lot easier. Then we can adjust it when we get the report done. Alright, so let's preview this now. We've got that. The header looks good. Go back to design mode. Now I want to put a footer in here, so I'm going to put 2 labels down here. Now I want these static labels, but so I'll use these these controls here. So I want the date on one of them, so I'm going to click on the date, and I'm going to click in the footer. Now whenever you do this, it's going to use the same formatting as you did up here, so I definitely want to change this to normal size font. I want about a size 12. I want the text to be black. You can either click on black or click on automatic. Now I want this to print over here in this side of the report, and I want to change the formatting of the date because I don't like that format. So I'm going to right click on that field, and I'm going to go to display format. This will give me some options to choose for dates, date types, and this is the format that I want. So I want to choose that format and click OK. Now it'll change it that. Now notice it's off the screen now, so now I've got to move it over and center it where I want it. And I also want on the left hand side, I just want to put my name there. So I want another label, so I'll click on this label, put it down here. I'm going to do something here. Now I want to change that text, and I want to just type my name in there, so my name will show up on it all the time, every time I run the report. Now let's preview it. Now you'll notice that my name and the date is not lined up. So let's go back over here to design. Now there's 2 ways you can do it. I can just move it up here and eyeball it. Okay, that looks pretty close, but it's still off. There's a little bit of white space there, so I can move that up. Now it'll probably be even, but there's an easier way of doing this. So let's say I want these 2 controls to line up with this one, the tops of them to line up with this one. So I would choose this one first, and then hold down the shift key, and then click on this control. Now they're both great. So now up here you'll have these icons. This right here aligns tops. This one right here aligns bottoms. And this will center it horizontally and center it vertically. You can play around with these. I'm not going to get too far into these, but you can play around with them. You can align the right sides with this one and align the left sides with this one. So I want the tops aligned, so I'm going to click on this button. Now that automatically aligns the tops of them. Now the footer is a little bit too big, so I want to raise the footer up to there. Okay, I'm going to preview it real quick, and perfect, that's the way I want it. So now let's go back to, now we're going to get into the meat of the report, getting the contact information into that. So if we come over here to data tree, if you look back over onto my scratch pad where I scratched out how I want the report, I want the date first, so I'll find the date and I'll click it and hold, click hold and drag it and drop it in the details section. Now that automatically puts a date label. This is a static label, and this is your dynamic field. This is what's tied to the database. I actually want the date label to be in the column section, and I want it at the top of the column section, so I'm going to put it up there. Then I'm going to drag this one and I'm going to put it over here. Now I don't mind the date format there, but if you do want to change the date, you just right click on that field and display format, and then you can pick whatever date format you like. I do like that one, so I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to shrink this field down a little bit. Now I want these to be the same size. So I want the smaller one to be the same size as the larger one. So this is when I want it to be the same size as, so I click it first, hold down the shift, click on the other field, and then up here in this section here, these icons here, this icon will make it the smallest one, so it'll size the two boxes to the smallest one. This one here will make it the largest one. It'll size the boxes to the largest one, and that's exactly what we want, so I'm going to click it. So say it made that one the same size as this one. This one here is the height. This will make it to the shortest, and this will increase the shortest to the highest. So you can play around with those in your own free time. Alright, now the next field on the report is time. So we come over here to the database, find time, click and drag, and drop it here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to click on this one, drag it up, put it there, and then we want this one aligned to that. Now we can use these align buttons just the same way. I want it aligned to that one, so I want to click it first, and then I'm going to shift, click on that one, and then come up here to align lefts, click that button. Now it aligns the lefts. Now I want this to be aligned with this, so I click on it, click on this one, and then come up here to align tops right there. So now it aligns the tops. Now these are a little far apart, so what I want to do is I want to click both of these, then come up here to these icons, and these are what you call a nudge icon. This will nudge it to the left, this one will nudge it to the right, this one will nudge it up, and this one will nudge it down. I want it to go to the left, so I'm going to click this one and see it moving to the left. And that's about right. Now I can also shrink this field down a little bit. And I don't necessarily want hundreds of a second, so I'm going to change the format on this one. And I'm going to take it to the short time. Now these formats are built in. I don't necessarily like that format, so I just want to get rid of. Let me show you what that format does. If you go to the preview, it adds the hundredths of a second on there, so I don't want that. So I'm going to come up here, right click on it, go to display format, choose that one, and then I'm going to get rid of that all the way to the seconds. So it's only going to display the hours and the seconds. See, now that shrunk it down. Now I can even shrink this field down even more. Now I want this label to be the same size as this one. So we click on those two fields, hold down the shift key, click the other field, and then I want to find the icon to make it both of them the same as the widest. So it's that one right there. Now these are really hard to see, so I don't know what they're going to look like on your monitor, but you just have to play around with them and figure out which one's which. Alright, now let's preview it. So that's showing my dates, and that's showing my times. Okay, that's looking good so far. Let's go back to design. Click on contact the data tree over here. Now we want call sign in here. So I'm going to click on call sign, click and hold, drag it and drop it. And I want this up here. And I want to move this one over. Okay, I want to align these two up. I want this one aligned with that one because it's in the proper spot. So I'm going to click on it first and shift click that one and then align left. And I'm also going to shrink this field down because there's no call signs that long. Alright, now I also want state on here, so let's come over here, click on state, drag it over, drop it, and I want to pull state up to there and put that there. And I want those two aligned. And the last field I want is a field called received QSL. In other words, have I received the QSL card yet? Oh, there it is right there. Alright, I'm going to drag that one over here, and then I'm going to drag this one up here, and I'm going to center that one there. Now, what QSL received, let's take a look at what we've got here so far. Now, if a QSL card has been received and you checked it in, then it would show an R. If you haven't received that, it'll show an N. I'd like to see a checkbox here. So what we're going to do is go back here to design, and remember I told you this is the dynamic controls up here that are actually tied to a database field. And there's your checkbox. Now you'll also have a static control over here that is a checkbox too, but we want the one with a database that's tied to the database. So what we'll do is I'll click on this, come down here, click there, and it's going to put that there. Now, a checkbox has to have a true or a false. If the field is true, then it will be checked. If it's false, then it will be unchecked. Now, we already know that if you received a QSL card, it will show an R there, and if you haven't received it, it will show an N. Computer doesn't know R equals true and N equals false. So we have to tell this checkbox that R equals true and false doesn't matter, because anything that is not an R is going to make that check false. So what we want to do now, we have to tie this to the QSL received field in the database. So how you do that is you come up here to this section here. Now what this is going to do, you want to make sure you're in the contacts table, and that's the only one we have in here. That's what we want. Then we come in here and we scroll down to the QSL received field, which this one is actually in alphabetical order, so it makes it easier to find. Click QSL received. Now that is tied to the QSL received database field, so both of these are tied. So let's go look at it. Alright, there's a received one, but it hasn't been checked because instead of a true or a false, it's getting an R or an N. So we need to fix that. And how we do that is come over here to the checkbox, right click on it, and come down here to settings. Now, the Boolean true, what do you need to put in here to make the Boolean true? We know we need an R in there. And like I said earlier, that the false doesn't matter, because anything that is not an R will make it false. So all we got to do is just change that Boolean true to an R. And that'll check that box there. So let's go back and look at it now. And it does. All the R's where we receive the QSL are checked. So that is the way I want it. I want that checkbox there. So now I can go in here and delete this R, this text field here that we brought in earlier. And then I can center this up on that QSL there. Alright, so let's preview it again. That looks good. Now there's a lot of dead waste space in here, and I also want to bold the text up here. So let's go back over to design mode and choose each one of these labels here. Now we can click on all of them and change them all at once. So hold down the shift key and click on each of the fields, and you'll see it grayed out and checked. Then what you got to do is come up here to the text and make it bold. Now that bolded all of them. Go back, preview it. Now you'll also notice that some of the letters are clipped off, so we have to fix the size of that. That one is being clipped. We can fix it by clicking on auto size. Now anytime that's changed, it'll automatically size, so that's perfect now. Alrighty. So this is the white space we're seeing between that gray box and there. So we can take and till the cursor, click and hold, and drag that up. Actually, we're going to leave that one there because we want to put an let's put a line here So there will be a line printed underneath that. And the way we do that is come up here to this static line, drag or click it, and click again down where you want it. Now we can shorten that box up a little bit, and we put it in the wrong spot, so let's take it and drag it up here and put it there. And we want it to go to the full width of the parent, which the parent is this section here. So now if we go back here, we've got a line underneath there. So now we can take this section and drag it up as high as it goes. And then there's a lot of space here, so let's take this section and drag it up to there. So now we've got more on here. And you can play around with the size and create more space in there if it's easier for you to read. That's a little easier to read there. Okay, now we're not really going to have a column footer, so we can take this section and drag it up. Once there's no white space there, that means it's not going to print out. So now it'll print all the way, almost all the way down to the header, or the footer, I'm sorry. Alright, well, let's see where I'm at here now. Okay, I've gone everything there. Alright, the report looks pretty good now. So let's go ahead and save it. We go up here to File and click Save, and then we can save the report. We're going to type in whatever name you know, whatever name you want to type it as. I'm just going to put Demo Report. Okay. Now it's saved. Now we won't lose any change. I recommend you saving it every so often. And I'm notorious for not saving it, so if my computer has ever crashed, but I'm on battery backup and everything here because I'm at work anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, our report looks good now. Alright, so if you will look at this report, it's pretty much in order of call sign. So the dates just jump all over the place. Let's say we want this report to be sorted by date that contact was made. To do that, we have to go back over here to the data side, and on the contacts table, let's widen this out so we'll see everything up there. This is a sort button, so we'll click on it, and then it's going to give you a list of all the fields there, and down here is what's it being sorted by. Right now it's in natural order. We want to be sorted by date, so I'm going to find date, there it is, and I'm going to double click it. Now it puts it down there. So now it's going to be ordered by date. And you can do multiple sorts here. So I want it sorted by date, and then I want it sorted by time. So find time. Now it's sorted by date and time. So it'll go by date, then it'll sort by time. Then you can also sort it by call sign. So it'll be in order of call sign too. So if you got more than one at the same time, which usually doesn't happen, but once you look at my report, whenever I first started learning Logger back in September, you'll see I have a lot of contacts that was made at the same exact time, and that was just because I was just learning the Logger program, and I don't think I was doing it right. So, and also let's double click on call sign. Okay, now it's going to be sorted by date, time, and then call sign. Now to save it, you just come over here and click OK. Okay, now if we go back here and preview it, it's going to be in date order, then time order, and then by call sign. Okay, see, this is what I was talking about. On 9/21 now, I think that was the first net I ever checked into, and so all my contacts is like at 1. I know I got a lot of calls that night, but not that many at that exact time. So anyways, I was chalking it up to me just learning the Logger. Alright, so this report looks pretty good. Alright, now let's say all these are checked. So let's just say I just want to see all the QSL that I have received. So this right now, it's showing all my contacts. So let's scroll through here. See, it's showing all the received and not received contacts. So it's just showing every single one of them. Let's say I don't want to see the not received contacts. So in order to do that, we have to go back over here to data. Now we'll do the, you see the search icon, the magnifying glass. So we'll click on it. And then this is a list of fields, and there's no search criteria here. So we want to search by QSL received. So there's that field. We double click it, and then we will have to put a value in here. You'll notice that it says contacts QSL received. And then you got an operator here, that in that operator is the equal sign. So if QSL received equals R, then that will only show the fields in the, or the contacts that the QSL cards has been received. If we want it to only see the ones that has not been received, we would change that to an N. But we want R. Now there's different operators here that you can use. The less than, greater than is basically a not. It does not equal this. So if we was to use this, then have R there, it would show everything but the R's. So it would show, it'd be the same thing as contact QSL received equals N. And like if you was searching a one that had like a call sign, and you wanted to search for all your K's, all the prefix started with K's, you could put like and then put a K in there, then that would show everything that's had a prefix call sign of a K in it, the prefix. But that's more advanced features, so let's get back on track here. So we want all the received QSL, so we're going to put received and then an R there, and then OK, save it right over here. So now if we preview it, it's going to show all the received QSLs. It doesn't have any of the ones that we have not received. Okay, so let's change that. Go back over here and just click on search criteria and change that to an N. Now that will show all the QSL cards or contacts that the QSL cards has not been received. See, none of them are checked now. And that is basic filtering. Okay, so everything looks good now. I want to save it with that filter, so let's come up here and File, Save. So now that report is saved. And let's close everything now, and let's show you how to actually run that program, or run that report. So if you go up here to Reports, if you go down here to Report Selector, it'll give you a drop down or a box here that you can choose the reports. This only shows the reports that's under Standard Reports that I showed you earlier. It's under that file or folder, Standard Reports. That's all it'll pull up in that field over there. So that's why I normally use Standard Reports. So we want to go here, choose that one, and then OK. Now that will preview that report. These right here, the report criteria does not work. I will be contacting Dean and see what's up with that. That may be just something he hasn't included yet or not, but these does not work, so just kind of disregard those for now. So to preview it, just click on that, find your report you want to run, and then OK. And there you have it. Something else I want to show you before we close it out. File, System Setting, or System Options. Now you want to set all this information up if you have not already. But if you start working with QSL cards, if you want to start printing QSL cards, create your own QSL card in Reports Designer, and you want to print directs, or you want to print direct labels and stuff like that, you have to make sure that this this field right here is checked, or your direct contacts will not print. I ran across that about a month and a half ago, and I was kind of wondering why my directs wasn't printing. And so then I found out they wasn't printing, and then I came in here and checked that, and I had over 60 or 70 directs that I had to print off and mail out all at once. So if you're going to print your own QSL cards or print QSL labels, make sure that that is checked so they will print, or else they will not print. This field right here, report options. Let me show you one other thing before we get, then we'll come back to that. Reports. These reports right here, you can actually add to those, and then if you go to File, System Option, and Reports, that's where you can add to those. So let's come down here to menu item 14. Let's put Demo Report. And then we click this little down arrow here, then find the demo report in this list, and then choose OK. Now if you come up here to Reports, there's the demo report. You can click on that, and waiting. I don't know if this is going to work or not. I don't think it is. Alright, there's 2 demo reports in there, so let's go back and choose the other one. Okay, that does not work. That is something else. I think I already sent Dean an email on that, and I totally forgot that. So that does not work, so we can disregard that. Alright, that is basically it for this how-to basic. The next one will be more advanced, and then I'll also try to put out how to create your own QSL cards and print your own QSL cards. That'll probably be the next one I do, is the print your own QSL cards. I've got quite a few requests on how to do your own QSL cards and QSL labels and address labels for directs. So I think that'll be the next video I do. So with that, we'll say our 73s, and until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned. Thank you, and good night.